And here we are at the round of 16 already. I'm Adrian, thanks for joining me here today, and welcome to Rabona TV's quick preview for each of the round of 16 ties. This should be fun. For all of these matches, it's difficult to tell just how strong each team is coming into the round of 16 because they all face such varying degrees of difficulty, different circumstances. And the difference between club football and international tournaments is that we have much more data to pull from as far as how a team is playing, the cohesion, and so on. Typically, teams take a little while to get up and running in that regard. Sure, you could look to pre-tournament stuff, but to that I say, Turkey. Turkey came in looking great, results against, France, the Netherlands, and good form prior to the tournament, only to flop massively. One of only 2 teams that lost all 3 matches. That's what makes international tournaments fun. While the cream often does rise to the top, that's not always true. Sometimes very ugly football can win tournaments, such as Greece in 2004 or Portugal in 2016. International tournaments are chaos. Often tame chaos, but a bit of chaos. So let's get into it. Before we do that, however, we gotta quickly thank our sponsors for this video. OneFootball. Yes, they're back again, the iconic partnership of Rabona TV and OneFootball. But if you find following the tournament to be a bit chaotic, even if it's just tame chaos, as we spoke about earlier, then OneFootball is absolutely your solution. OneFootball provides the best app for all things Euro 2020, including the fastest breaking news, the ability to track the nations you care about for a customized newsfeed, live updated match tickers for when you're on the go, videos, and so much more. So use the link in the description for a free download on iOS or Android to stay up to date on all things football throughout Euro 2020 and the club football season. And you'll help out a creator such as myself. So thank you, OneFootball, and let's get into the preview. The knockout rounds of this tournament kick off on Saturday the 26th with Wales facing Denmark in Amsterdam. I think it's safe to say that everyone, or at least a lot of people's hearts, have a little piece of it reserved for Denmark after what they have gone through, the fight that they have shown, and honestly, their playing style. Everyone has been speaking about Italy and how well they've been playing, and rightfully so. But as far as getting the ball into the opposition's final third, Denmark and Spain lead the tournament. Now, part of that could be down to the midfield linchpin that is Højbjerg, the guy who tidies up, but also pushes the play forward as he has had more shot creating actions in this tournament than anyone else, according to FBref. In the attack, Denmark have seen Mikkel Damsgaard ride to the occasion in Eriksen's stead. Damsgaard is one of those players that gets everyone under his spell when he's on the ball, and he showed off his finishing against Russia also. Defensively, the backline of Christensen, Vestergaard, and Kjær has looked fantastic, with Mæhle shooting up and down the wings as well, adding to both the attack and defense. After their opening loss to Finland, a match that, unfortunately, with respect to Finland, was a complete write-off given the circumstances, Denmark fell 2-1 to Belgium, dominating that first half, but failing to double their lead before Kevin De Bruyne came onto the pitch in the second half and punished them. Then, the massive 4-1 victory, a commanding victory over Russia, which saw them through. For Wales, they looked quite poor in their opening match against Switzerland, but in the second half, we saw them come alive to salvage a 1-1 draw and show that they can absolutely play, just as they did at Euro 2016. They carried that spirit and momentum into their great win over Turkey, where Gareth Bale was a thorn in the side of that Turkish back line. His ability on the ball leaving them on their heels, and his passing and vision setting up both of Wales' goals. If not for him catching penalty myositis, a disease that's running rampant through the tournament so far, he would have had a goal as well to cap off the performance. Kiefer Moore has shown that he can be a problem for defenses now and then, while Daniel James has the pace to burn the Danish back line, and Aaron Ramsey is always looking to ghost into the box unattended. I think for Wales, winning the midfield battle up against Højbjerg will be key, while also isolating Yussuf Poulsen, who is in dangerous form right now, has to be of highest priority. Denmark cannot give Bale any time on the ball. Turkey provided the perfect example of why that can be lethal to your own chances. These two sides resemble teams in the purest form, not a collection of individuals trying to make something work, as is often the case with international football. Both are excellent, unified teams, with Denmark no doubt coming together and becoming an even, tighter knit group, given the unfortunate circumstances. It should be an even matchup and a great game. I think Denmark just edges it, but I'm not choosing Wales at my own demise. They could just as easily go through. Italy and Austria will be the second match on Saturday, this one played at Wembley. What else can I say about Italy? that I failed to mention in this video here. I mean, it all holds true still. Italy are without a doubt one of, if not the most exciting team to watch at this tournament. As I said a moment ago, international football can often resemble a bunch of individuals just trying to make it work out there, often lacking a lot of cohesion. But this Italian side resembles a team that has been playing together week in, week out for years. The transition from defense to attack is ridiculous. I have no idea how they get so many players up the pitch that quickly, often turning an opposition's attack on its head in a matter of, 2-3 passes. The attack of Insigne, Immobile, and Berardi has looked fantastic together, though I do wonder if there is some room to question whether Insigne's place is up for debate at this point. My gut tells me that Mancini will still stick with Insigne. But with the way Locatelli and Barella join the attack, with how positive Italy's midfielders are with their dribbles, with how well they all combine with each other, they are a stunning team to watch. At the back, they defend incredibly well, and there can't be any questions of whether they were made to look good by weaker opponents, as Mr. Gary Neville was trying to say. As this Italian side is undefeated in 30 matches, has won 11 straight, and hasn't conceded a single goal in that stretch. There's pedigree in their performance, and they showed that it wasn't just a matter of doing it in qualification, and then choking on the big stage in the tournament. 3 games, 3 wins, 7 goals scored, 0 conceded. Austria, on the other hand, started this tournament with a commanding 3-1 win over North Macedonia before their frail attack showed very few signs of life in their second match, ultimately losing 2-0 to the Netherlands. But when crunch time came and a spot in the next round was on the line against Ukraine, Austria showed up, their backline dealing with Ukraine well, while their attack did just enough to win thanks to Baumgartner's header from a David Alaba corner. I think Franco Foda will be a bit nervous with how wasteful his Austrian side can be in the attack at times. With players such as, David Alaba, Konrad Laimer, and Marcel Sabitzer, chances will be created. But as far as the strikers go, they've flattered to deceive at times. Arnautovic, Gregoric, both having scored, but neither able to nail down a starting spot. One thing I liked about Austria's match against Ukraine, however, is that I think Foda has figured out his best 11 and his best shape. Alaba needs to be either pushed into midfield or in a wide position so he has room to create, not played as a center back. Sabitzer needs to be pushed further up the pitch as well. He made those changes in the last game, but against Italy, I won't be surprised if we see Austria play with a back 3 once again, just as they did against North Macedonia and the Netherlands. And Alaba doesn't look great in that formation, does he? But I mean, back 3, back 4, either way, it's going to be exceedingly difficult for Austria, and I personally find it difficult to see any other outcome but Italy winning this match. On Sunday, Budapest will play host to Netherlands versus Czech Republic. The Czechs come into this match as one of the teams that perhaps performed beyond expectations, at least in my opinion. Just as the Czechs have impressed and at times perhaps surprised with the quality of their play, Patrik Schick has been a good representation of that. A player who doesn't, always light it up at the club level and can go through long spells without scoring. He started the tournament in the best possible manner with a lovely header and a ridiculous goal that will live on in football history. At the very least, his strike from half will live on in European Championship history, giving his side a 2-0 win over Scotland. On top of that, Soufal and Souček continue to bring that same level of performance that helped West Ham up to 6th place and clinch Europa League football. Soufal has been solid down the right, both defensively and often being the start of all things good in the Czech attack. Souček has also been his typical hardworking self in the midfield, while Kalas has impressed me in defense. They have a no-nonsense 4-2-3-1 approach that thus far has worked for them, with a win over Scotland, a draw with Croatia, and a narrow loss to England. The Netherlands, on the other hand, are a very interesting proposition. From Frank de Boer starting his Netherlands coaching career with an unwanted record, becoming the first Netherlands manager to not win their first 4 matches in charge, to debates over whether he should play 3 or 4 at the back, to winning every match at Euro 2020 and scoring more goals than any other team. It's safe to say that the attack has worked out brilliantly, with Wijnaldum's roving runs forward leading to 3 goals scored by the former Liverpool player, while Depay has shown great chemistry with Malen and Weghorst at times, one adding pace and passing to the attack, the other adding height, and pretty decent distribution as well. It's nice to have options, right? Frenkie de Jong has been a star in the midfield for the Netherlands, while Martin de Roon continues to do the at times unfancied work he's become known for at Atalanta. And how could we forget Denzel Dumfries, who has been putting in great shifts for his country down the right flank? The one area that could cause concern for the Netherlands is their back line, as in the past, it has leaked goals. The 3 at the back formation is a new one for them, and they have only ever really been tested by Ukraine, who managed to score 2 goals actually. But I think that against the Czechs, they will likely remain unchallenged, and it will remain a cause for concern on another day or in another round, as I see the Netherlands going through. The second match on Sunday will be played under the 30-degree evening sun at La Cartuja in Seville, with defending champions Portugal taking on the #1 ranked team in the world, Belgium. What more could you ask for? Portugal have had a typically sketchy group stage. Not exactly Fernando Santos' forte, is it? 3rd in the 2016 edition of the tournament, a spooky 2nd place in the 2018 World Cup, and now another 3rd place finish in 2020. Not exactly inspiring stuff, but we can give him a pass for being in the group of death in 2020. You get a free pass this time, Nando. Portugal is a frustrating team, as they certainly have the tools to play exciting football but often fail to do so, often down to a system issue or a deliberate move by Fernando Santos to play football that sees Portugal simply not lose, as opposed to going out and trying to really win matches, playing the likes of Danilo Pereira and William Carvalho at the same time. But to his credit, against France, I found that Santos made the right calls as far as personnel is concerned, and he got it right when it came to substitutions as well. Starting João Moutinho and Renato in the midfield, excellent call. But overall, I'm not sure that you could say Portugal has been overly impressive. A lot of the time, it has felt like they're on the verge of figuring things out going forward. A lot of times it feels like their typically strong defense is just a step off, as the fullbacks can be a bit of a liability. But that said, being overly critical of Portugal is also difficult considering, again, the group that they were in, up against France and Germany. Belgium, on the other hand, had a clean sweep with 3 wins from 3 in their group, cruising to victory against Russia, playing 45 minutes of great football to beat Denmark 2-1, and then easing to victory over Finland as they incorporated some of their recovering stars, such as, Hazard, not bad. Eden Hazard, that is. Axel Witsel, not bad. Kevin De Bruyne getting a start. Denmark showed that if you are aggressive against Belgium's backline, perhaps the weakest link in the team, they can be forced into errors and be overwhelmed. While the second half of that match showed how terrifying Belgium's attack can be. Lukaku running at defenses via the inside right channel, drawing numerous players around him and feeding the ball centrally to Kevin De Bruyne. Hazard gets involved, the fullbacks get involved, Witsel holds it down in midfield. I mean, they have a stunning side, don't they? And given that Belgium play a 3 at the back formation with roving wing-backs that will look to get forward, they no doubt will have taken note of how easily Germany punished Portugal via Robin Gosens on Semedo's right side. Factor in how it could potentially be Diogo Dalot playing as a starting right back, and we could find Portugal in a similarly dire situation if their wingers and central midfielders aren't disciplined enough to track back. Then again, Portugal showed in flashes how they too could punish teams that play with a back 3, as Jota found himself slipping between Ginter and Kimmich, those right-sided defenders for Germany, on a few occasions. That's where Portugal could find success in the attack once again. This has the makings of being a fantastic match for anyone who takes the great decision to tune in. Probably the first proper test for Belgium in a very long time. I mean, they played England in the Nations League, of course, but other than that, probably their biggest test, the biggest test for the world #1 ranked team since the 2018 World Cup. And you already know who I'm backing. It goes without saying. On Monday, June 28th, Croatia take on Spain and Copenhagen, 2 sides that didn't really grow into this tournament until their final match of the group stage. You could argue there were signs from Croatia in the 1-1 draw with the Czech Republic, but as for Enrique Spain, they were misfiring their way to 2 draws prior to their drubbing of Slovakia. Croatia showed against Scotland that they can still be a very difficult team to beat in this tournament, especially with the talent of moderate stature. That's their wild card, basically. Their not-so-secret weapon. So with that all considered, my hopes are high that both Croatia and Spain give us a bit of a show on Monday. Spain labored in their first 2 matches, scoring just a single goal, but blowing chances left, right, and center. Morata, of course, with blood on his hands, as everyone will know by now. But Moreno and some others will have to look at themselves along the way and wonder if they could have done better. Yes, they could have. Done better as well, that is. That said, the Morata question is an interesting one. He offers a lot to Spain's attack off of the ball with his pressing, the runs he makes, and his link-up play, but there could be a genuine question asked of if he isn't scoring in Spain's easiest match of the group against Slovakia, and he has missed so many other easier opportunities throughout the tournament, and his replacement scored immediately after coming onto the pitch against Slovakia. Is there a world where Ferran Torres starts centrally and Moreno and Sarabia play on the wings? It's worth pondering. But no doubt Enrique will start the man. But it's still worth pondering, because misses in a single match elimination, those are quite costly. The midfield provides another question. Koke seems to be a lock, as does Busquets, and rightfully so. But do you go with Pedri as the other midfielder, who has looked great? Do you leave Thiago on the bench again? And at the back, Llorente versus Azpilicueta, Eric Garcia versus Pau Torres. There are so many players that seem to be of a relatively equal standing in the Spanish side that it's hard to tell what exactly their best team is. Croatia has a similar problem in the midfield, as that's no doubt where much of their talent comes from. The side we saw against Scotland, for me at least, has to be the one that Dalic goes for against Spain. Modric is the lock, as is Perisic, as they continue to roll back the years time and time again when representing their country. In defense, there is absolutely a chance that Lovren, Chalata-Char, or Vida will have major headaches dealing with the Spanish attack. But again, the question is if Spain will finish off those chances. If Spain are finally in the scoring mood, have awoken after that Slovakia drubbing. And up front, I do worry about the effectiveness of Croatia's strikers so far. Rebic, Kramaric, and Petkovic have all failed to impress, but with a midfield like Croatia's, a magic man in Modric, and wingers like Perisic, and an attacker like Vlasic, it definitely lightens the load for the strikers. These two sides were actually in the same Nations League group following the 2018 World Cup, each taking turns at winning a match. Spain, far more convincingly than Croatia, with a 6-0 win versus Croatia's 3-2 win. Let's hope this match is as high scoring as their two previous encounters, and for me, I see Spain getting the win. Bucharest is the venue for the second match on Monday the 28th, as France will take on their neighbors Switzerland. Switzerland got through as another one of the third place sides after they finished on equal points with Wales in Group A, but fell into third on goal difference, where Spain has Morata, a workhorse with extremely inconsistent finishing in the attack. Switzerland has Seferovic. And that's not to say that Seferovic is as good as Morata, but he's similar in that, he will work hard for his team, but his finishing goes missing more often than not. Perhaps if it had been on, Switzerland would have gone through in second. But I'm actually happy to see Switzerland advance, as I think that when they aren't playing uber defensively, they can be a fun side to watch, as they showed against Turkey. When they have the confidence to go forward, and when Seferovic and Embolo are having a good day, while Shaqiri, who is a tournament player apparently, pulls the strings behind them, Switzerland can be a very dangerous side. Typically, their defense is a little bit stronger. They weren't the only side to concede 3 to Italy, but they were the only side to concede a goal against Turkey. This, despite actually having some good defenders in Elvedi and Akanji, two bona fide Bundesliga stars when it comes to defending. Freuler and Xhaka also add to their solidity, as Switzerland is yet another team that plays with 3 at the back, and I expect that that won't change against France. Speaking of at the back, France do have a bit of a defensive issue, don't they? Against Portugal, both Hernandez and his replacement, Luca Digne, went off injured, meaning Adrien Rabiot was inserted into the left back position. Certainly not an ideal situation for them. They've already lost Ousmane Dembele as well. I mean, not that he would be considered as a fullback, but just to say that they are having some injury issues. And you couple that with Varane and Kimpembe not always looking overly convincing, Pavard being yet another centre-back that's being played as a full-back for France, and maybe, just maybe, there's some reason to think that the Swiss attackers could punish this French back line. However, I mean, the rest of the squad still looks great. Pogba has been in incredible form, as has Kante. Griezmann has also looked good. I mean, I almost find that I've been more impressed with some of his work rate and the stuff that he's doing off of the ball, like his tackling and his tracking back. I mean, that kind of stuff has impressed me a little bit more than his contributions to the attack, to be honest. Mbappe showed against Germany and Hungary that he will be a massive problem, and with Benzema finally scoring, twice in fact, it seems like this attack is clicking into gear now. Or at the very least, that Benzema has broken his duck and will be far more confident in front of goal. This French side isn't as convincing as perhaps we thought they would, but I think they still have absolutely enough to get past Switzerland. It would be considered a massive failure if they didn't. That was weird sentence structure by me a second ago. England versus Germany kicks off from Wembley on Tuesday. Yes, England at Wembley for the 4th consecutive time, and get this, now they can have 40,000 supporters, and get this, if they advance they play in Rome, but the semi-finals and the final are at Wembley as well. I feel for Poland. This tournament structure is so unfair. They had to fly back and forth between St. Petersburg and Seville. That's 7 hours. Let's not do this anymore. Okay, UEFA? Let's just do one host nation. All the teams can stay in the same country, not flying all over the place. Anyway, we're not here to talk logistics. There are 2 ways that people are looking at Southgate's England so far. As a team that is playing extremely boring football that hasn't been properly tested yet and are playing far below their potential, or as a team that hasn't lost, that hasn't conceded a single goal and got 7 points out of 9 in the group stage. I think that I personally fall somewhere in between that. The football is completely uninspiring, but as I've said of Portugal and Santos in the past, tournament football can be ugly, as you sort of have to play to not lose at times. That is, of course, if you don't know how to successfully set your team up for free-flowing attacking football without conceding at the other end, or at least a balanced approach. That sentiment has been consistently echoed by the England players. Both Maguire and Sterling, veterans in the squad, spoke of how they are playing tournament football. And when you don't concede, you put yourself in a great position to win games. Greece 2004, baby. It can be frustrating to see, as you constantly get that feeling that England is capable of so much more with this young attacking talent that they have, and yet they seem to labor going forward. We haven't seen anything of Harry Kane really, as there are questions surrounding how fit he is at the moment, but he did look like an improved player at least up against the Czechs. But he doesn't look as robust as he usually does. At the other end, the defense has looked sharp. No complaints there thus far. I mean, with 3 clean sheets, how could you have any? As for the Germans, like I said in the intro, it's really hard to get a read on any of the teams for varying factors, and the Germans absolutely fall into that category, maybe more than most. Are the Group F teams looking unconvincing? Or is that just a consequence of Portugal, France, and Germany all having to play each other so early in the tournament? And don't forget about Hungary. Is it that the 3 teams that advanced looked unconvincing? Or is it Hungary genuinely are a strong, promising side? I think the latter is true. But the reasons for the hard to read performances is probably a mix of both the big guns having slow starts to the tournament and it being hard to truly shine when you're playing tough teams so early on in an international tournament. Limited training, limited cohesion. Germany's performance against France wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible either. They limited France to 4 shots, while their own deficiencies in the attack let them down. Mind you, France did score 3 times with marginal offside calls pulling them back, but against Portugal, Germany showed that they can play some ball. And while you could argue that Portugal laid down for them and let them score the same goal over and over and over without making any effective changes, the fact remains that they scored 4 against Portugal. Against Hungary, this is where it's difficult because you could say the issues came back for Germany, or you could give credit where credit's due and highlight Hungary's performance. Hungary scored some great goals, Adam Zsilai's header in particular, but the fact remains that Germany was about 5-6 minutes away from elimination before Goretzka saved them. So when you look at this tournament and compare that to how things have gone with Yogi in the past year or so, I mean, it could be easy to say that Germany will be in trouble against England, especially if Thomas Müller isn't back in the lineup. I'm thinking of the loss to North Macedonia, the 6-0 loss to Spain. These things cumulatively don't look good. But I think this German side still has the players necessary to beat the English, and this will certainly be the most difficult team England have played since, I guess against Belgium in the Nations League last year. The laborious nature of how they play versus the anarchy of Germany, I mean, I hope it's a high-scoring, entertaining match, as it has the makings of it. I'll go with Germany, I guess. And finally, the last match to kick off on Tuesday and the last match of the round of 16, Sweden versus Ukraine, blue-yellow versus blue-yellow. Adrian, you know your colors. Great analysis. Okay, it's not the sexiest match in this round, but hey man, we saw in Sweden's final match of the group stage that they can be a bit more than just rigid 4-4-2 and defend, defend, defend. Mind you, coming up against a Ukrainian side that likes to fly at their opposition and has talented attackers like Yarmolenko and Yaremchuk, they may have to sit back a little bit in this one. I mean, they were already through and they were playing against a Polish side that were flying at them and opening up. So that's probably why they scored a few more goals. But as I was saying, Sweden showed that they can attack, as Isak has looked great, Forsberg has been superb, and with Kulusevski returning to the side, and getting 2 assists on Wednesday's victory over Poland. That bodes extremely well with their already extremely solid defense. It took the brilliance of Lewandowski to cause them to lose their clean sheet, as Lindelof and co have defended admirably. Ukraine, on the other hand, I had high hopes for them to be a dark horse in this tournament and go on a little run to the quarters or something like that, but I'm not sure that they have what it takes to get beyond Sweden. Sweden are such a well-drilled side, while Shevchenko's Ukraine are they're just a bit disorganized, a bit disjointed it seems. Yes, like I said, the potency of Yaremchuk and Yarmolenko definitely counts for something, and Zinchenko and Malinovsky are definitely not bums, but their defense is what worries me. And with Forsberg in the form he's in and Kulusevski back, I think Sweden's going to move on. I know, I'm sorry, that last one was extremely short and I apologize for it, but I'm going on way too long. Who's watching videos this long? It's 2021, Adrian. Just put it on TikTok. It's like a minute, 3 minutes. Anyways, guys, I thank you to anyone who made it this far. And if you did, dropping a like on this video helps a ton, or a dislike if you hated it. That's fine too. My name is Adrian. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.